Hi, welcome to What's the Book About? I'm your host Kevin. This is Challenger's Hope by David Feintuch. This is the continuing story of Nicholas Seafort and his fish problem. This novel starts after the end of the previous novel in the year 2197, and if you're lost, just watch the previous video. You see, at the end of the novel, this novel starts at the... Okay. This novel starts shortly after the end of the previous novel in the year 2197. Now, if you're lost, just watch the previous video. You see, Nick's temporary command has been made official and he's now a commander and given his own ship. Earth has been preparing for its first encounter with an alien life form. You see, at the end of the previous novel, and sadly this is a spoiler, Nick encountered an alien life form, and Earth is sending a fleet of ships back to Hope Nations in hope to encounter those aliens again and to deal with them. And they've put a very, very career-conscious admiral in charge of the fleet, and as has most of the Navy, despite all the documentation and evidence, are kind of doubting Nick's encounter being real. Nick is given the fleet's oldest, most rundown ship to command, and things only get worse from there for him. Okay, so that's the spoiler-free introduction. Be warned, from here on out there might be a few spoilers. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. So on the way to Hope Nation, the fleet actually does encounter the aliens. They kind of look like a goldfish but with tentacles, which is why they're nicknamed the fish. They try to communicate, but they're only attacked. The admiral ends up panicking and he scatters his fleet to the wind. Damaged and with quite a few crew dead or injured, as well as some of his passengers, Nick eventually gets his ship to the backup rendezvous point as part of the contingency plan, and slowly the fleet trickles into this rendezvous point, and Nick, as the youngest captain, is stationed there to send people on, and once the last of the ships make it to the point, he follows on, and his next jump, he ends up encountering the admiral, and the admiral convinces him to come onto his ship, and there he finds out that the admiral's ship's been disabled and it's a trap. The admiral has taken over his own ship, left Nick with some passengers and a broken FTL engine to die with little food in the middle of empty space. With no hope and a panicking remnants of crew and passengers, Nick eventually manages to forge them into a cohesive unit, and he ends up managing to almost miraculously bring his people back home. Okay, so what's good and bad about this particular novel? The fleet personnel are, again, quickly sketched out, but they're rather consistent. The career admiral, when things go horribly wrong, is not surprising that he tries to pull this particular trick, but several of the other officers that get abandoned with Nick and the different officers of the different ships are all unique and different people within the military and feel very genuine. Now, the passengers are more focused in this novel than in previous novels, as when Nick gets abandoned on this ship, they make up the bulk of the novel, and the passengers are unique and different. And there are VIPs as well as extra colonists. The transients of Earth are being offloaded to the colonies to relieve some population pressure. And this is the pilot program. And these particular transients are from what's left of New York City, and they're, think gangs, except in the highly controlled nation on Earth, gun control is extreme, and none of these gangs have guns, so they're ever not as violent or dangerous as our current American gangs. They still have knives and fists and stuff like that, but not quite the same level of threat. Now, there is a passenger trying to teach them civility and human interaction in a more polite setting. And as Nick works with those people, you get to see them as individuals rather than just amorphous gang people. And the interactions between the gangs and the VIPs are really well done. You get that difference of society level and education level and the various prejudices each group has for the other are played out rather well and becomes a great strength. Also, in this particular novel, the minor love interest from the first one has become the captain's wife, and well, I don't want to spoil much about it, but the attack on the ship by the aliens causes some great personal grief for the captain. So in the end, what is the book about? Facing hopelessness. The setup to get the captain into this particular position where everyone has to deal with not just the possibility, but the complete likelihood that they're going to die in space, never ever getting a chance to go home. Die of either starvation or lack of oxygen or just the cold brutality of empty space. How do they deal with it? Each of the various characters, how they deal with it, there's gut-wrenching losses, and it's very visceral and very touching. And the fact that Nick he anchors himself to his Navy and his oath, and how he manages to pull people together to get them out of their depression, to get them moving forward, and how, in a way, what a slim hope does to some of these people is just gut-wrenching at points. The stark reality is they're all alone. And you feel for them, because by this point in the novel, when they realize it, you've got a chance to meet all these passengers and see them as individuals rather than just the labels you start off with. The fact that the author doesn't pull any punches is one of the reasons I have to give this book 4 out of 4 stars. Published by Aspect, it is still available and not very hard to find as a paperback, and you can still get it as an ebook. So there's no reason you shouldn't go out and get it, read it, and enjoy. Till next time.